In this video, we're going to talk about how to create reference geometry. On the Features toolbar, you'll find the Reference Geometry dropdown, and on this list, you have Plane, Axis, Coordinate System, Point, Center of Mass, Mate Reference, and Bounding Box. A lot of years ago, Solidworks reworked the interface on the Plane feature, and so we're going to take a look at this one first. It used to be that SolidWorks would give you a list of the types of planes that you could create, and then it would prompt you for the elements you needed to select in order to create that plane. But in their new interface, what they've done is they just allow you to select 3 things, and you're going to hope that you get what you want out of those 3 things. So if you select a circle or a circular edge, you can create a plane in the plane of the circle or perpendicular to that plane, but it's not exactly clear how you control this. In fact, it doesn't look perpendicular at all. It looks rather parallel. They're probably talking about perpendicular to the axis that goes through that circle, but again, it's not really explicit. You can also select the classic 3-point. So there's a vertex back here, and another vertex over here. So there's a lot of things that you can do with vertex selection. And there you have a plane. If those vertices move, the plane will move with it. So I can't really give you specific instructions on how to create a plane because it's pretty much up to your imagination and what SolidWorks can do. Unfortunately, we don't really know specifically what SolidWorks can do. So we're just kind of left guessing with this interface. I honestly wish they had given us distinct options and let us pick from those instead of forcing us to guess how SolidWorks makes a plane. So let's clear all these selections. And boy, you really can't do that easily, can you? There is no clear all. You have to go through each and delete. Maybe there's something here. Clear selections. Okay. That's not where you'd expect it to be. You can select an edge, I know, and make a plane that's, in this case, coincident to the edge, but it could be coincident in the edge in any rotational position at all. So I'm not sure why anyone thinks that's useful. Perpendicular is usually going to be okay. Well, no, I would have imagined that it was perpendicular to the curve at the center point or at the beginning or at the end. Or yeah, so get rid of that and see what happens if we select this. Okay, it got a point in that case. Not sure how it got that. It's not what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to select this edge. Okay, an edge, it's perpendicular to this. It doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, so to me, planes in SolidWorks is just a huge guessing game. It's very uncharacteristic of the rest of their interface. Usually things are pretty clear. If you've used the software long enough, you know how to get the different kinds of things that you want. But if you're new to this, or you're trying to get something that's maybe a little unusual, all I can do is wish you good luck. If we make a few random selections, SolidWorks will tell you that the current combination of references and constraints is not valid. Well, that's nice to know. So we can right-click out here, clear selections. Maybe I can get a perpendicular to curve. No, it just really doesn't like that. Let's try to get something that's definitely a straight edge. Well, let's just draw a line in space and see what happens. If I draw a line here that's not parallel to any of the axes, I can go back and start the plane wizard again, and let's just select that line. Okay, so it's going to... A line is always on a plane, and so this is putting a plane on a line. Let's make it perpendicular. Looks like it's perpendicular at the midpoint, but it's not really telling me that. If I right click on the line and select midpoint, that's not an option here, is it? Let's see if it's on the select other list. Nope. So I've always had a hard time with this interface, even though it was probably 15 years ago that they changed it, or probably more than that, maybe more like 18 years ago, that you should have, or you should have a midpoint option on here, but it doesn't. So anyway, that's the SolidWorks plane wizard. Another wizard here is the axis wizard, and this is more like the old interface used to be. You had different types. This is more like the old plane interface used to be. You had different types of selections that you could use to create a plane. You do get something from the cylindrical face, because then you can make an axis based on the temporary axis through the center of that cylinder. And if you make a selection up here, SolidWorks automatically identifies something for you. You can also, let's clear the selections, do a one line or axis. So this line that's skewed, you can create an axis from that. That's very nice. 2 points or vertices, that's a good one. You can pick one here and one over here. Now, one thing I don't like is that they really should automatically turn on the selection filters for you. And the selection filter is available as a toolbar, usually shows up at the bottom, but you can get it to show up as a block like this. Some of these have hotkeys, so the filter vertices, for example, if you wanted to turn that filter on yourself to only select vertices and show up, then that would be great. Filter edges would be E. Filter faces is X. And you can write some of your own hotkeys for these. Filter axes, filter midpoints is a good one. So in any case, there's a lot of tools here that you can use with this selection filter and the axis wizard. The other types are 2 planes where they intersect will create an axis. 2 points, we already saw the cylindrical or conical face, and a point and a face or a plane. The way that works is, let's clear these selections. I'll select this point and this face. And so it makes it perpendicular to that face where that point projects perpendicularly onto the surface. So that's a nice tool to have sometimes. Anyway, that's the axis. That's the interface that you really want with the plane command. And let's see what's next. A coordinate system is very useful for if you're sending components out to be CNC'd or 3D printed or whatever. Sometimes you have to have the coordinate system laid out in a special way. So the position will be just a single point. And after using Solid Edge for a while, it would be nice for SolidWorks to tell you what kind of information it's looking for. But it doesn't do that. Once you get the location for the new coordinate system, it's going to just line up automatically, default to the existing coordinate system. If you tell it you want an axis in a particular direction, say this edge, now it spins it around and it tries to keep as much of the rest of it stationary as possible. For example, the Y is still in this direction. So you can set these up with selections or with numeric values if you want to do that. And again, you can position the vertex or the origin with numeric values as well. And then when you export this, you can select which coordinate system to use. So that's interesting information, very useful tools. The point, say we do an arc center, this has the same sort of interface that the axis had and that the plane really should have. So I'm going to draw a circle in here and make a point, and it'll place that point at the center of the arc, at the center of a face, at the intersection of two edges, at a projection point from a point onto a surface, on an existing point, which is interesting, and the along curved distance is another interesting option. Let's see what this creates when you make the point. It just makes a feature called a point. Now, this is very different from a sketch point, which are just a bunch of points in a sketch, and these only show up as a part of the sketch. So the point feature in the reference geometry is different from the point feature in 2D or 3D sketches. Just be aware of that. Center of mass is a great piece of information to know in a lot of applications. Mate reference is something that allows other parts to snap to the part that you apply the mate reference to. And the bounding box is great, again, for selecting CNC stock or just to get a general idea of what the size of a part is. So this is the SolidWorks reference geometry. Some of these are very successful, and some that you use a lot, like the plane, you have to just experiment with to see what works. Thanks for watching.